Greetings, peace, everyone. Welcome to the last Sunday of the month for the live edition of Chief Speaks. I'm Kim, and I'm going to bring in the rest of the team. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yep.
Okay, good. Peace. How are y'all today?
Doing good.
Yes, I'm well.
All right, so let's get the conversation going. We've got Taya, Zach, and Charles on the phone. Did I hear Zach back there?
I got to testify. Come up to the side, look at exercise.
All right.
What's going on, everybody? How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Wow.
Hey. It's life is happening. Life is moving. Life is grooving. Let's get it on.
All right.
All right, Charles, you want to start us off?
Sure. So, I'll just say that I thought that this month's shows were, similar to last month. I thought that these were really impactful. I thought they really hit close to home. Not only talking about the role of the alpha man and the alpha woman and that process to get to that place, but also talking a lot about the idea of the alpha family and how that concept is one of the things that's certainly under assault. When you look at the state of our families, you can look at the state of families in America. You can use everything from, the divorce rates, which we see is, plus 50%, to just the everyday difficulty that we see for men and women to be able to come together, to build families together, and to maintain those families. So, I thought that this was a really relevant show, or was a relevant set of shows from that perspective. One of the things that Chief always says is that Ifa is about family. And so, if we're to be true practitioners, of this traditional African spiritual system, then how we operate on a daily basis in terms of our interactions with each other from a male-female perspective, and ultimately our families is vitally important. In the first segment of the month, if I recall correctly, dealt a lot about the obstacles to families. And one of the things that Chief talked about was the idea of what happens, how the system, when we're looking at court systems, work to keep families separated or allow situations to happen where one parent can leverage their children against the other, and how that breaks down and tears down families. And even how the concept of the single mother is sometimes a misnomer when we consider all of the systems that are in place to try to support that type of family system, often at the expense of something that could be more healthy and could be more beneficial to all the parties involved. The next segment talking about, the alpha men and the dearth, really, of alpha men in this society and why that's the case. And, talking about what happens when you remove alpha men from the community, what happens then to the sense of protection that the women experience, or what happens then to the sense of support and love the children do not have, and then how that also then allows for a situation to develop where someone else can come in and give your family or your people a culture that could be counterproductive to them. And obviously this is something that we see, on a regular basis here. And then the last show of the month, really talking a lot about the idea of, how do you go about that process of developing that alpha status for yourself, and then also realizing that being the alpha is not about being the toughest or the person in charge, but being the person that is the most relevant and the most relevant and the most valuable in that particular moment, and how at different times there's different roles for people to play that are reflective of their alpha status. So, and then the other part, which I thought really stood out, was the idea of how our creature comforts work against our development of that true independence. That's one of the tenets of being alpha. So Chief talked about like what happens if you do something like deciding not to, ride in a car for 60 days, or decide to abstain from sugar or abstain from sex, and how those things build your internal power by letting you see what you can live without, and as a result, the chains that you can break of what the society tells you that you need. And then I actually just got a chance to listen to the last segment where he was talking about responding to some of the questions, and the questions were good, that were coming in, and I can see this is a subject that a lot of people have a lot of interest in. So, I'm expecting that we're going to have a great show today with a lot of comments from a lot of folks. We may not all be experts on Orisha, but, pretty much everybody's going to call on that's been in a relationship of some sort. So I'm sure this will be a fun show for all of us, and I'll stop there.
Right on, Brother Charles. I could dig that. It was a good recap. I have shared some of the same views. Starting out, I thought what stuck out to me from the first show was just when he almost started with women and the men and then the family, which I thought was had just a great flow to it, first and foremost. And when he just was talking about the women, the thing that stood out to me when he was bringing up the movies, and unfortunately, perception starts to become one's reality. And he also talked about the scapegoat. And when you start to watch just the movies that one watches, everything can be blamed. It's almost like, yes, just blame it on the man. The man is a brute. He's going to oppress you. He's going to do all of this. And instead of taking that as just as sheer entertainment, or even watching, he was brought up The Color Purple, where there's no real life situations where this happens, where somebody just sits at home all day or whatever. You start to take this in and say, you know what, that's how it is, or that's what's happening to me. Not even looking at your own self, or even when you're as a child and you start watching these different movies or these different Disney flicks, that your knight in shining armor is going to show up, and this is how a man should move. This is how he's going to come in and sweep you off of your feet. And I actually had a young lady who was like, my perception of movies has screwed up my vision of love. And she starts to correlate that, well, love, it looks like this, and if it doesn't look like that, then it's not love. And when he just started pointing some of those things out, showing how this is the attack on the family, and even the studies that are done of, what happens when you remove the man and what's the percentage of the child going on to college or going on to prison to pipeline. Like, why, even ask yourself, why are these studies done? And the studies are done to help somebody else out financially or economically. So once we start to get that in line, then we can start to make some different decisions, or one can start to make a different decision and go a different route. And then he went on and built with the men. And at the end of the day, what I got most from it is you got to have a plan. Like, and if you don't have a plan, then you have no clue where you're going, and you're just getting into a family and creating a family for no other reason than just to knock somebody down and say, okay, now we're together, now what? And then you're looking at each other. I'm looking at her. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her. And it's one of them, sometimes I feel like somebody's watching, but like somebody's just staring at you, and now y'all are not doing nothing. And then, but now it's like you lay down with this person. Now where are you going? So then she starts to leave, but then you get mad because she's leading in the wrong direction. She's getting mad because she got to stand up and do something, and now y'all both looking at each other crazy. And then, I think it goes both ways at the same time, because women need to know, you need to see what his plan is, and then see what actions he is taking to do it. And then, guys, you got to stop being led by your lower nature. You got to stop trying to, okay, I'm going to just do this or become this because I know that's probably what she wants, just because I want to get her in the bed. And then after you get it, now it's almost like, there's a lot of things that I don't want, or there's a lot of things and I'm ready to move on, but you done went in raw dog. Now all of a sudden y'all are stuck because now you got a family. So now what you going to do? And now you start looking around to do this something else with somebody else. Figure out like he said, sustain. And I think that was a great idea when he said it, when he brought it up, is if you have to see somebody's value. You have to see somebody's worth. And if you can't see it while you're trying to perform these different acts, well, then you got to fast from it to make sure to see somebody, what they're bringing to the table. And if they're not bringing to the table any tools that you're looking for, or qualities that you're looking for in your complementary sex, well, then it's time to move on. There's way too many people out here in this world for you to start arguing or trying to get somebody to do what you want them to do, and they have they don't want to change or they don't want to do anything. So, and then the last part when he brought it home with the family, I think was the biggest thing, and what she said was just to have a good time. Life is too short to be trying to sit here and argue. Life is too short to try to, he was even saying quizzing and trying to stay on your kids and, well, what's this, what's that, man. Just let's make, and if you are going to do that, make it into a game and make it into just having fun, and it's not something that somebody feels like, oh, man, I don't want to go around this person. I go around him, he's going to ask me, da-da-da-da-da-da, start to quiz me on every little thing. Just have a good time, man. Stop being so uptight. Stop being so stuck on things. Just go with the flow. Go with the current of life, because it's going to move regardless if you're ready to move or not. It's still going to flow. So don't fight the current. Flow with the current, and then have a good time. Build strong, lasting relationships, strong, lasting families, and then we can start to build our communities back up.
That's beautiful. I reflect what both of you have said. There was so much juicy content in this last month's shows. And what it really did for me, in addition to everything you all just talked about, was just begging the question, well, how do you even determine if you are an alpha woman or an alpha male? Because most of us probably associate ourselves with those elements that are not true, and they're false identities. And so Chief mentioned on, I think, the last show that I've been working on some personal development research on what it is to be a woman. And this month's segment made a really good segue into that whole project. And so I'll share a little bit about that with you. But it's interesting because we always say how men have to raise men, and we never talk about how women have to raise women. And do we even know what a woman is? And we start thinking, well, what is a woman? If you ask people, they'll say, oh, well, I'm a mother. I take care of my man. I cook the meals. I do this. And I'm like, none of that has anything to do with you being a woman. My teenager can do that. A gay male could do that. That's not what a woman is. And really what that boils down to is, what does the womb mean? What is the womb? Because you have to emanate every aspect of the womb to even begin to call yourself a woman. And so some of the traits of the womb are being dark, magic, it's receptive, it's undifferentiated. You know, we give birth and it goes right back to its original shape. It's spongy, and it's where we hold a lot of deep-rooted trauma, too. So you'll notice that when women develop these illnesses, it's usually something that relates back to the reproductive system. It's soft and strong. It's sensitive. It's magnetic. It's a protector of what's inside, you know, protects whatever thoughts or whatever you're giving birth to, protects that fiercely. And the menses is so sacred. It's that shedding, and it actually is ashe. And you'll see, I didn't know until recently through this research that ashe actually means blood. And it's interesting because you'll see in some cultures, you'll see one side of it where they know how powerful a woman's blood is, and they won't even allow her to participate in the ritual because if her mind or her womb space is not right, she's going to bring in some stuff that, you know, you might not even be ready for. And on the flip side, you see cultures where they recognize how important that is, and they actually use that menses in sacred rituals. Some people actually drink it or they mark themselves with it and so forth. And so that womb is really the source of power. It's delivering, it's that portal of bringing heaven to earth. And we don't really have that rites of passage. We don't have that mother usually who will sit down with us and say, all right, baby, you're about to come on your menstrual cycle. Here's what's going to happen. Here's how your life is going to change. You're going to start dating. Here's what you need to expect within a man, and so on and so forth. And so before you even can call yourself an alpha woman, you have to figure out if you are a woman. You may just be an adult girl. And if you have a source that fed you toxins, and your source would be your mother, then you got to find a new mother. You got to find a new big mama to really kind of keep you in that place of being honest with yourself. And so for me, this was really just about going inward and feeling and understanding where I play the role in relationship as a woman.
And I think you said with just the power of the womb, and I think. I mean, and I think we a little bit. Do you think that women know the power, the real true power that they have of the womb? Because I think that they call it, or some say, "I'll put that snap on him and then he'll come back." Could that be along those lines of the power of the womb?
That's misusing the power of the womb. So yes, so people do know. I mean, once you insert that into a woman, I mean, a woman knows she can manipulate any energy that comes through that womb and turn it into whatever she wants to. The problem is that we use it for the wrong purposes. So we're always trying to figure out what we can take from people instead of what we can give to people. So we can take that energy and figure out how to give back and deposit the right energy into the family. Man, this will be a whole different conversation. So yeah, we know to that extent, but I don't think most of us even take the time to know what exactly the womb is, what it does. And if you don't know what it is or what it does, then you can't call yourself a woman.
Right.
Right, period.
And there's a lot of that, again, does it come from movies? You ever seen it? Like, even in a movie I see where they have a man is watching a woman, she's tied up, and then all of a sudden she flashes him or something, and then he puts down his whole guard, doesn't even think anymore, and just goes like, well, let me get a sneak peek, and then all of a sudden she kicks him or something, and she's out of there, and he's not thinking. Like, what is it? Is it like the alpha man? Think. Use your head. Stop going and being led by your lower nature. At the end of the day, you're going to get it. You are going to get it.
Yes.
So stop running and chasing and trying to do whatever and become whatever to try to please whoever, and become who you are and be a man and stand on your own too. Stand on your square and stop saying that I'm going to shapeshift and I'm going to do all this other stuff just so I can say, yeah, I got it. But then all of a sudden, after you get it, now what you going to do with it? And if you don't know what you're going to do with it and you don't have a plan, well, then this is where the problems start to fall in. Here we go. Now what y'all, I mean, well, she looked good or it was good, but then now no qualities that you have ever, you need to start building and moving forward, but then all of a sudden she just put that snap on you, and then it's okay. I ain't really tripping about it. She cool. Nah, bruh, nah. And it starts with you though. And I think what you hit the nail on the head right there is, do you know who and what you are? And if you don't know who and what you are, well, then how do you know what you want and what you're looking for? And then how do you know when you found it?
You don't.
Anything is going to suffice. Anything is going to do. But you have nobody to blame but yourself. So stop blaming your significant other for your woes and your shortcomings and your shortfalls. Or this person is not letting me grow. This person is. No, you did that to yourself. These are the consequences of your actions. You chose this mate. Then nobody choose this person for you. And if you just slipped up and didn't put them through the correct process of what you was looking for or didn't know what you was looking for, now these are the consequences of your actions. Deal with it.
Well, yes. That was great. We have a caller with their hand up. Go ahead and loop them in before we continue, if that's okay.
Come on in.
Peace, everybody. Peace, Brother Byron. Peace. How are you doing?
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Apologies for being a little late. It was always my commitment to join the panel today. That was a few minutes late, so I apologize for. Yeah, so apologizing. I'm apologizing for starting in a few minutes late, but it was my commitment to join my colleagues, my fellow students today. So please accept me.
Well, welcome, brother. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good to have you join us. So Zach, let me just follow up on what you were saying. When you were talking about people getting together and not having a plan, one of the things that I think happens is that the plan is to just get together for that moment. And so, I think what happens a lot of times, and maybe this is more, maybe this is less, I feel like I've seen it more now in the last few years, is that, we've really gotten to a place where between people, sex is a commodity. And so people are, actively in the process of just trying to get sex on both sides, on a male and female side. And so I think that there's less consideration in truth for what happens after that point, because the process of choosing a mate is a mature process. Not everybody that you even fit to be mated with. And if you're circumspect about that process, then you know that even as you're taking somebody out or doing whatever it is you're doing with them. But I think that, increasingly what you're seeing is less emphasis being put on that at all. I think people are increasingly just looking to, hook up on a Saturday night, hook up on a Friday night, hook up on a Tuesday night, and kind of see what happens after that. But, as far as the thinking about the family planning part, as far as thinking about, do I want to be with this person? Does this person meet these, ideas for what not only I want, but are they willing to accept what I have to offer and what I have to give, is not a way that people are socialized. And, it's interesting, maybe about a year ago, me and a friend of mine were talking about how, schools should start teaching people how to date. There should be a class in school about how to get to know somebody, how to have a communication, how to have a conversation. The society we live in is more robotic and technical. People have whole conversations just through text messages. They never heard each other. They never talk to each other. Their whole interaction with each other is based on what they've seen on Facebook, or what they see on Instagram, what they see on Snapchat. And so they're getting these little snapshot pictures, which are only really going to be good 9 times out of 10 to just show you what a person looks like anyway. And that becomes the most important thing in this whole dynamic. And then when go from that kind of playtime to the very serious, oh no, somebody's pregnant kind of thing, neither person is really prepared for the outcome, because they didn't prepare for that outcome from the beginning. So one of the things is really thinking about, looking at where you are in your life, and looking at what it is that you really want, what it is that you really have to give, what is it that you're really able to give, and then finding somebody that's going to be a complement to that. Because otherwise, you're just kind of, out here in the wilderness for the most part. And, the wilderness is all about survival of the fittest, literally and physically and figuratively.
If I want to follow up with that, but I want, Brother Byron, if you got something to say, please.
Okay, you go first, brother, and I'll come in after you. That's no problem.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, Brother Charles, because you said that they should start teaching how to deal with relationships in school. How effective do you think that would be or would that basically depend on cultural backgrounds, and are they going to teach you how to deal with somebody based on their cultural history? And would that be effective for a melanin-dominant group?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So when we were talking about it from a school standpoint, or even from a program standpoint, we were talking about it specifically working with children of African descent and working from that basis and standpoint. Because the fact of the matter is that every day people are getting programmed on how relationships should work. Every time you turn on television, listen to music, or watch TV, or go to the movies, just like you were saying in the beginning, you're learning how a relationship should work, how you should dress, what you should say, where you should take somebody, how long you should wait before you call them after you get their phone number. All these things are being spoon-fed to you, but for people, the perspective that it's coming from, which is a Eurocentric perspective, is not going to be applicable or relevant or functional for a person from another cultural background, which is why particularly for in descent, you see such chaos in our families. So definitely you have to go back and look at the cultural part of this and say, okay, what is a man from an African-centered perspective? What is a woman from an African-centered perspective? What are the roles? What is a boy? What is a girl? What is the process for the boy becoming a man? Who ushers him into that? How is that process happening? Rites of passage, because I know everything is called rites of passage now, and a lot of it is stuff that, honestly, I don't think is very relevant to where we are today as a people. But it's about making it relevant. It's about making it so that at the end of the day we're producing families, because so much of the chaos that we see in our communities, that so many of our challenges that we see educationally, when you look at the field of social work, when you look at the justice system, juvenile justice system, starts with breakdowns in the family. Starts with what happens when two people get together who were not planful and not prepared for the creation of another life, and were not prepared to be able to take care of and provide that life with the support that that was needed and necessary. And that gets back to this very individualistic culture that we are a part of now, that says, look out for self, get yours, let somebody else get theirs second. And then we bring this to our relationships and wonder why it doesn't work, because it's not supposed to. It can't work out that way. So, yeah, when we're talking about, training young people, or talking about young people about how to form families, and you have to do that from your perspective. And I'm in favor of everyone doing that from their unique cultural perspective. If you're a person of European descent and that works for you, do it. If you're a person of Asian descent and that works for you, do it. But if you're a person of African descent, you have to look at something that's going to work for you and get you to a point where you and your family can not only survive this chaos and madness, but thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I follow up?
Yes.
Please? I mean,
Absolutely.
Listening to the discussion, I feel that many of the problems that Africans are facing, experience at the minute, are based on the fact that we, in general, have forgotten that we are spiritual beings. So we get caught up into the fantasy of this flesh, and we get caught up in the ego of this flesh and think that we're going to be here for 60, 80, 100 years, and that's okay, and we're going to define our own destiny, and we become not family-oriented, but very individualistic. So as we are growing up, many of us, I observe, grow up in families which are dysfunctional, or with parents in dysfunctional communities. And by that I mean that the parents more than likely did not prepare, as you're saying, for a child. And the preparation for a child is not only the planning of, okay, I'm going to work, you're not going to work, we're going to be financially established before we start to raise children. It's about preparing, for me, it's about preparing ourselves spiritually. So my understanding is that when we are single and we may have sexual partners, with each partner that we have, we take a piece of their energy, and that energy is combined with our own. And then when we go and start to have a child, the man's historical partners and the woman's historical partners, as well as our own energy, all combine in the making of that child. Mm-hmm. So we can then consider the amount of egun that are in that particular child, the amount of energies that were in the semen, the amount of energies that were in the womb when the next child is brought forth. And we do all of this from Western paradigm, with limited or no African cultural input into the way we plan and design our lives. And then we wonder why our lives are so chaotic, why our communities are so chaotic. And for me, it's because we are not applying anything or very little, which is our own, into the raising of our own families and our communities. So, for me, it really starts back with family, but it starts back to but also before that, it starts with, if it can't start from the family, because we cannot define which family we are born into, but we can do things as young adults, as young people, whereby we can rebalance and counteract our entry into the world, and so we can be put on an appropriate destiny. Talking a little about myself, so I'm on my second marriage now, and people often tell me there's no right and wrong, but in some aspects of life there is. So my first marriage, I entered it in the wrong way. I would say that I applied a more Western approach in choosing my first wife. And then when it all crashed and burned, I'm thinking, oh, wow, I was a younger man. We produced two children. But the second time around now, the spiritual preparation that my wife and I had to do in order for us to even get through the engagement ceremony, which was done in traditional aspects, was very rigorous. It was very rigorous. We both had to do individual eba. We had to do individual cleansing. We all had our individual prescriptions to do just to get to the condition of being able to ask the ancestors, etc., if we could wed. So, and for me, if we were applying some of these principles and some of these traditions as a routine, as a community, we would find that our children and our families would be exceedingly more functional, and the alpha male wouldn't be a downtrodden or a nearly extinct phenomena within the African community, because we would be aligned to the African culture, whereby the alpha male is needed and respected and valued, and even encouraged in the raising of young men. So that's my couple of pennies worth for now. But I just thought I'd respond in that way to you.
That was more than a couple of pennies, brother.
That was a rich perspective.
Okay. And it sounds so smooth when you say it too, because of that accent, man. It's like, wow.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I ask you something, Brother Bobby?
Of course.
When you said like the dysfunction, would it be safe to say that every family is dysfunctional? It's just a matter of to what degree? Because when I hear Chief, when he says everybody is conscious, it's just a matter of what degree. Would it be safe to say then that every family would be dysfunctional to some sort of degree? And then when you said you entered your first relationship into a Western mindset, if you wouldn't mind, can you elucidate some things that what that kind of looks like for you?
Okay, can I talk to that one first, because that's about me. So I could quite.
Okay.
Okay. So I wasn't following African traditional culture. So I'd grown up. I'd went to school, university. Got my job, going on with my career, and all the crap that they want to teach you through the Western media about that's the right path, that's what you need to do. Find an attractive woman, marry her, blah, blah, blah. Then have your 2.2 children and live in the suburbs, and away you go. So what I was looking on the more physical aspects of my wife. I'm talking for me. And I didn't discern her qualities as intently or keenly as I should have had I been brought up in the appropriate way. That's my reflection. Or if I had been developed in a particular way to develop those skills or to place higher value on the characteristics and the qualities of an individual more so than how they look or what they say. Not listening to what they say, but actually watching what they do. I didn't have that developed third eye to discern somebody's spirit or character as I can now. So that's what led to the downfall of the marriage, basically. The facts were that the expectations that we had verbally agreed on, in my perspective, didn't come to pass, and I felt let down, and I had to leave. So that was that. In terms of dysfunctionality, are all families dysfunctional? Well, I can't say that. I would say that many families are dysfunctional. When I say many families, I'm talking about African families that I see in the UK and those that I observe through the media, but observe in America. I see high levels of dysfunctionality, where the level of investment into the Western standards causes nothing but mayhem and carnage, and families to be broken. That's what I observe.
That's great.
Okay.
Before we go forward, may I interject? We have a caller that's had their hand raised for a while. Caller 682, welcome to Chief Speaks. 682, are you with us?
Hello?
Greetings.
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 This is
Welcome.
Brother Brandon.
Welcome.
From Fort Worth.
Greetings, Brandon. Hey, what's up, brother?
I was touching on the sex thing, and I was thinking, I was like, based on my travels, and as far as me coming into the knowledge of like different things, I started looking at pretty much everything as sex, because it's like whether people want to say it ain't, I look at it as everything that you do in life is sex, whether it's literal or figurative. Then, but when you say that, most people jump into the sensual side, like, oh, you talking about physical sex, but everything you do is sex, like taking a bath, is sex. Walking through a door, starting your car, watering your garden, that's an act of sex, because that's the only energy of manifestation. That's how we got her, through sex. It might have been physical sex, but it's different forms of sex, because everything in existence is based off of positive and negative, and that's male and female. So you can't cultivate nothing without a sexual act. Even it might sound, I'm trying to make it sound most unperverse, because like when I started studying like Freemasonry, I ain't no Mason, but I know the degrees. I started studying the different aspects of masculine and feminine, and also on top of that, after a while I ran to E5, so masculine and feminine. So it's like pretty much everything in life is sex. It's all in how you look at it, and it's up to the individual not to put it in a perverse way and go into a pausing state of what that is, because sex is pure when your ego ain't tampering with it.
So let me ask you this: you're saying that you sex, having the physical act of sex, what degree is that when you walk into your car of having sex? You're gonna have to make that plain for me, brother.
Sex creates energy. So basically, okay, we can go into the electricity, the electrical realm, dealing with electricity. You can't have no current without a positive and a negative. It's a male and female coupling. Just like you put that key in that slot to start your car, that's a male and female coupling. It produces power. So that's the sex I'm talking about. I ain't talking about no actual physical, sensual sex. Do you see? That's sensual sex. It's literal, but it's sensual.
Okay.
It's different types of literal sex, just like it's different types of figurative sex. Like thinking of something, a deep thought, provoking out your mind, and you manifesting that thought. That's an act of sex.
Okay, Brother Brandon, could I ask you something, please?
Yes.
Brother Brandon, we spoke on Sister Kimberly's show probably maybe 2 months ago, and
yes.
Chief gave you a very detailed offering. Is that correct? Is that the same, Brother Brandon?
Yes, I'm still looking for that video. I'm trying to listen to that video, and I can't find it for nothing.
Yeah, but he gave you some homework, didn't he?
Yeah, I've been doing my homework, but yeah.
Are you on the way? Are you on the way progressing with that?
Yes. I'm currently dealing with my finances first, because that, as far as my life going, my finances is going to determine like how far I go as far as my traveling, because I'm the only one I could depend on as far as finances, and I got a whole family, so no excuses. But at the same time, when I was calling the hotline, I was like, man, Chief, you gotta go get me. He told me I have to call back till I go to Africa.
Yeah, so
but yeah, man.
So did you listen to the follow-up show? Because remember we were speaking about, in the show that Chief gave you his offering, we were speaking about going to Africa even for a vacation to check it out, so we could have an informed view of living there. And Brother Dietrich did a whole heap of homework, and he came back on the next show, and he gave us an A to Z of how to go to a range of countries in West Africa, the cost, the exchange rate, the price of land, the levels of crime. Did you tune into that show, sir?
No. I need to find that show and the show that he gave me the offering on, because I've been trying to study that show. I've been searching YouTube and his page on Facebook. I cannot find that one video.
Okay. I think that if you email questions at anu.org, you might, if you email that email address and put the question to that email account that you're looking for the show, I think somebody may be able to help you, Brother Brandon. But with regard to your insight into intuition about every action being sexual, I wouldn't really concur with that view. I can see where there is often a male and female energy combined in lots of activities, but I wouldn't say that it's an act of sex going on. Because the ultimate act of sex is reproduction of new life. And it's not everything that we do in our living experience goes to reproduction of new life. Some of the things we do that. So, for example, if you're tending to a garden or if we're farming, we might be tending to supporting the reproduction of new life and growth. I wouldn't say that it's everything that we do within our... I'm struggling to agree with that at the moment, Brother Brandon.
Yeah, this is just as far as like the words that I ain't gonna say everything I'm saying like exactly how I see it is the way I'm trying to express it out. But that's how I look at it as far as like when I start learning so much about like hidden knowledge, and it's like when I started learning different aspects, like when I just started looking at Odu's patterns of light and dark. I'm not saying actually everything is sexual. I'm saying, far like you just said, if it's dealing with the level of reproduction, that's a form of sexual cultivation. But I ain't saying just like far as just the physical perverse side of sex. Just because everybody, everybody runs to that.
Brother Brandon, I believe if I remember recording the conversation that you had with Chief correctly, I think Chief advised that you didn't bother. You weren't. This wasn't the right time for you to study Odu's, Brother Brandon. I am challenging you directly, but I don't want to be offensive. But if I'm recording the conversation, that's what Chief's advice to you was.
Yes, I'm not currently studying. I'm just getting the patterns down. That's about the most I'm doing right now with my Odu's. Just getting when I see the pattern, I pinpoint what the pattern is. But that's the only thing I'm working on with Odu's. Okay,
well, I think my advice, I think I did say the same thing to you at the end of the show, but my advice to you would be really to put an email to the questions email account. Did you make a note of the email account I gave you, Brother Brandon? Did you write it down?
Write what down?
The email address where you could get some help in finding the show that we were speaking about earlier.
Get me a pen.
All of them are on the podcast.
Okay, I'll do that then. I'll just go to the Blog Talk Radio. That'll be quick. Yeah.
It's questions.
Oh, really have too much.
You okay, Brother?
Oh yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
You okay? Okay. Questions at anu.org.
AnuNation.org.
Anu Nation. Thank you for correcting me, sister.
Sure.
And I think we have another caller.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. So thank you, Brother Brandon.
Yeah. I had R. Kelly off remixed to Ignition.
Yeah. We have a caller on 813.
Greetings. How y'all doing? This is Brother Anwar.
Brother Anwar, what's up, my brother?
What's going?
How you doing,
What's going on? Hey, give thanks, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence on today's show. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm in here cleaning the house while reorganizing my closet. I'm making closet today. I was just wanted to talk about a couple of the things that I kind of got out of this whole month speaking about this and that. Let me catch my breath. get. Boy, I just ran up the stairs. I've been moving stuff, but it's all good. Chief spoke on healing holistically, right? Inside of just the family unit and the people, and just yourselves to creating your family, healing holistically. And we got into that 62-day fast, or I addressed that 62-day fast, and that I took my little. I'm taking a fast off tobacco, smoking cigars, and from that point, I started doing more things. I started doing more activity and things that I wanted to see myself in the future. So what I'm doing, like I've been working on my business. I'm reorganizing the house. I'm doing some housework today. I got the whole day dedicated. I'm in the process of doing something to state that I'm alpha male, and that kind of goes across the board with the family. That we all have to make sure that we're in the process of doing what an alpha family does. You know what I'm saying? So, and just thinking about trajectory, the other concept he came up with, trajectory, and us seeing where we got to be at, and finding the Ochosi, or the straight and arrow to that path, and working that path, and putting ourselves as a family and as a group, as a community in that trajectory, and keeping that trajectory correct. And on that task, that main goal being there as the light at the end of the tunnel. and that's pretty much it, man. I really appreciate all the shows. I'm a constant listener. I see everybody growing, and I get so much information from everybody that participates, all the hosts of the show, and I thank you.
Give thanks.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Modapo.
Thank you.
Good luck with that clout.
All right. Thanks, Brother Charles. Before you get started, we have another caller. I am so glad you all are calling in early today. Caller 267, welcome to Chief Speaks.
Peace. How y'all doing?
Peace. Welcome.
Peace, brother. Peace.
All right. Peace. I've been listening for a little while. I just want to say y'all doing a great job, and I really appreciate the info and the message y'all bring across. So this month I really just took from the teachings just that, you know, as men, we really just have to be defined. Really got to define what it is, you know, you're here to do, and have that plan, and like brothers and y'all were just saying, have that trajectory, and just go forward with it, and be convicted in what you say your path is and what it's supposed to be. So I just took that from it, and I thought that was a real good message, and I think that we need to strive just to be more defined, and and with the whole enlightenment and transformation piece, that, you know, the whole teaching that we're dealing with, I think that the enlightenment we get it, and it's a little more easier than the transformation aspects of it. So, and that's kind of where the definition comes in, and you are able to transform based off your knowledge and the way you use it to better yourself and your environment. So that's basically that's what I wanted to really, you know, let be known about what I've taken from all the advice and all the insight.
Appreciate it, brother.
Well, thank you for that. Hey, listen. So I want to go back to something that Brother Byron mentioned at the beginning, because I think it's a good question to just ask, and this is actually for everybody that's on the phone, actually. So, Brother Byron, you mentioned that you know, in your first attempt at marriage, that there were some things that you were kind of taught that you realized were counterproductive to having a healthy family. If you were going to just isolate one of those things that you were taught that you found was counterproductive to running a relationship and a household and a family properly, what was one of those things? And this is a question for everybody, because, you know, I'm sure that we've all had some degree of trial and error about what we've been taught that we have found is actually not going to work out in a marriage or a relationship.
For me, one of the most important things is that the man has to be 100% clear in his own mind what he wants to design and what he wants to and what he wants from the marriage. He has to be 100% clear in his own mind, and he's also got to have a thorough understanding and understanding. So it's not just the words, but also the behaviors and the actions. So, okay, I'll speak about me. So I like the look of my first wife, okay? I'm a young man. I'm full of testosterone. I like the look of my first wife. On reflection, some of her behaviors deep down.
Why am I moving in here? Because I said you are. I'm not still on the line.
Sounds like somebody needs to mute their phone there.
Excuse me, am I still on the line?
That alpha male energy coming through.
I need somebody. We need somebody to mute the call.
I think it was that maybe.
See, you said Brother Byron said he ain't looking at the look. He said, why? Wait a second. I got to be able to see something now.
Basically, it's just making sure that everything is aligned. So the words are aligned, the actions are aligned, and the feelings you get from the other person are all aligned. In my youthful ignorance, the words were aligned, and some of the behaviors weren't aligned, and if I'm being 100% honest, I chose to ignore them. Okay? Oh, it'll be all right. Once we get married, everything will be fine. And also, when we entered into that marriage, there wasn't there was only very little input from the external family. So from my siblings and from my parents and from her siblings and parents, we didn't go through the ritual of getting the extended family's blessing on the union. And I can't say how important that is. Both the extended family who are physically here, but also the ancestors that have gone. So in my second marriage, I went through the process of ensuring that the ancestors that had gone were blessing the union. So I suppose in answer to your question, Charles, I'm saying a lot of words for your question, but for me, it's about aligning yourself. If I was aligned with the universe when I first got married, if I had been brought up in an appropriate way, and had the proper rites of passage at that time, I would have been more aligned to have made the right decision in getting a mate, getting a wife. And I would have been more aware of the strength of my spiritual energy as well as the strength of my physical energy. But at that time, I was a young man, and I was more into what I could materially see and touch rather than closing my eyes and having that moment of meditation and connection with my spirit, which would have guided me more appropriately at that stage of my life. So I suppose I was not connected. If being an alpha man is standing up straight with a straight spine and attracting what you want to yourself, then I wasn't standing up with a straight spine at that time. And therefore, if my spine is not aligned, then my third eye is not aligned. I'm not centered.
Gotcha.
I hope that helps
you,
Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and anything you're offering is helpful, man. Brother Zach, what about you, man?
See, when I hear this is where I automatically go, because I used to watch Boomerang. I used to watch The Thin Line Between Love and Hate. You know what I'm saying? And you watch these films, and it's always the guy, he's macking, he's doing this, he's doing that, and then a woman comes along and then tries to change him. He goes back to doing what he was doing. She leaves. He sees what he had, and he comes back, and then, okay, I changed. Right? And a lot of times I see a lot of people trying to do that. Is if I can just come in here, I can show them what I have, I can show them my worth, and I can show them this or whatever, and then this person is going to change. No, that's a movie. They don't show you the ending. It doesn't work like that. This person is going to do what they want to do. So just what Brother Byron said, and a lot of other people were saying this too, is what direction are you moving in?
what direction and trajectory is your life going in, and then see if this person fits in with that trajectory. See what they have, and then sit down, and if y'all are going to come together, then you need to tell her your plan. What is your plan, and then what is the role of a man, and then what is the role of a woman, and then this is what we're going to do. And then if you start to compromise, or if you start to say, oh, yeah, well, you know what, I know you missed that, or you know what, you're lacking on that, but she look good, though. Shorty a 10 right here, so, you know, I can show off to my partner. Yeah, but then she's nothing but a headache when you get home. Well, then now you got issues. And again, you can't blame it. Like, and I hear Brother Brian, all he keeps saying is, I messed that up, which is like, so many people like, oh yeah, the other person. Even when I met somebody the other day, and he was like, oh yeah, my last relationship didn't work, and I was like, okay, well what happened? Oh, you know, I just love too hard, and that's what it is, man. I just give everything. So you didn't do nothing wrong in this relationship. You don't got nothing to work on. That you're a perfect person, and the only thing that you're wrong and accused of doing is not picking somebody as perfect as you. Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. No, that is what you're saying. So until you're able to take some accountability of where you went wrong, and you know what, my eyes weren't open, and I wasn't seeing where this person was going. And a lot of times I think we get confused with these terms of, okay, love, and then, oh, this person is my soulmate, and we just come together. Who is that? That's my soulmate talking to me on the other end of this phone. What is that? But they get this whole notion of like a soulmate. We're just, look, either this person is going in the direction you're going in or they're not. Come off of all of these words that people are not defining. And if you can't define it, then how do you know when you found it? And I think that's the biggest issue to these relationships. You get into them with no plan. You get into them with no purpose. And, again, that comes down to knowing who and what you are and what is your purpose and why you're down here. And then you'll see some people who can complement that. And if they can't, well, then move on. It's not that big of a deal.
Right. I'm sorry. We have about 5 callers on hold, and I don't want to lose them. So if it's okay with you, yes, I'm excited about that. If it's okay, can we start looping them in, and then we'll come back to this thread? Okay, thank you. So 615, welcome to Chief Speaks.
Greetings, everyone.
Peace, brother.
Y'all doing a real good job, man. We listening. I'm surprised y'all haven't started charging people for this yet. Y'all let me down. I guess it's coming. But when I was listening to the program about, you know, the alpha family and the alpha male, I think if you was listening to the show, it kind of brought back a lot of repressed memories that a lot of alphas actually had. But you like you said, you had to compress it so much because either you didn't know how to control it yourself, or the surroundings that you put yourself in wasn't conducive to you being an alpha. But when I was listening to the show about the family and the role of the male, once you, what I got from that is you have to stand in your purpose and you have to stand in your power. And once you do that, and you're doing it from a genuine perspective, and paying attention to the details of things that happen around you. So, for example, I went and did some research on starting, a nonprofit organization that's dealing with, land. And the people that started popping up that was giving me information based off what I was desiring was, I don't think, if you wouldn't believe me if I told you, I would have had to record that, how coincidental the information was when it came to me about the resources. But the only way you can do that is have your family goal in mind. Like, why do you want all this land? Why do you want this business? Why do you want this degree? How are you using what you're going to do to benefit your family first and foremost, and your extended family around you? And once men become family oriented to the point to where they don't care what people think, the way LGBT community don't care what you think, Jewish people don't care what you think, Republicans, I really think black people can learn a lot from Donald Trump, because he does not care what you think. He gets what he wants, and if it pisses you off, he actually loves it because you're thinking about Donald Trump. You'll buy his ties just to burn them up. but at the end of the day, his bottom line is increasing because you're too stupid to just ignore him. But I think as alpha men, we're gonna have to develop that effort mentality when it comes to doing what it is you gotta do. And once you start being family oriented like that, then it'll be amazing the resources that come to you to help you do that. So that helped me out a lot. Just standing and being convicted in what it is you're planning on doing, and just watch the puzzle pieces start falling together from a priority perspective, how to start it.
Right. And I would say this, too, to add, when you start moving in that direction, just knowing that there's going to be some casualties as you start to move in that direction. Know that everybody is not going to make it. Because when you try to start pulling everybody along and saying, oh, no, we all got to go in this direction, that's when you start slowing and hindering your own progress. So this kind of, you said, you got to adopt a little bit of that, F it, this is where I'm going. And either you're going or you're not. Don't really care. But at the end of the day, you have a decision. You have a choice, and your choice can either roll or you can get rolled over. But that a lot of times we just bring to the table excuses and complaints instead of bringing something to the table that will have actually people get your attention. So that's what I want to just add to that. But I'm right there with you, though, Brother DJ.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you, Brother D, for calling in. Appreciate that.
Okay, we have another caller.
Yes.
662.
Welcome to Chief Speaks. 662.
Okay. Okay. Let's go with 817. Caller 817. You're on Chief Speaks.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Greetings.
How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. This is Sequoia.
Peace. This is Sequoia.
Hi. I'm really enjoying this new format. I really feel more a part of what I do is doing, and it motivates me to be better so that I can have more to contribute. So thank you, Chief Ia, and thank you, Tim, Taya, Zach, and Charles.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm really enjoying this month's topic, too, and it got me thinking about two things. It got me thinking about our self-worth as individuals and our natural roles as male and female. In order to become alpha, I would think we need to be secure in who we are as male and female. So I was wondering, where does our self-worth come from? Also, I've been thinking about what is the proper role for women, because when I think about women's roles, I always think about her cooking 3 meals a day, ironing her husband's clothes, doing all the household chores, the typical housewife duties. This is the only thing I've learned about female roles, and there's some negativity surrounding it because women felt devalued. They weren't able to pursue their dreams and, bringing the feminist movement later on. So now in 2016, you have so-called independent women with careers, and housewives are looked down upon. So my second question is, in 2016, where is the balance between women being able to pursue their dreams and doing the housewife duties? Is the idea of women staying at home and men going out to work, is that our natural role, to begin with?
Mm-hmm. I'll chime in on this one. For me, I feel like, and I think the Chief mentioned this in one of the shows this month, but women are not supposed to be sitting still at a desk all day. Women are water, and so we are supposed to be constantly moving, and women are wealth. And so whether you are the one who is at home taking care of the children or you are out at work every day, it's just a constant. You have to constantly be reminded of what it is you're doing for the family. Like, what's the purpose? If you're going to work every day, what is it you're going to work to do? What has your family set up as a mission statement of what your financial role is? And you have to do whatever it is to the best of your ability. If you're home, that's definitely something. You are the protector of what is inside the home. The man controls what happens outside. the perimeter of that home. So it is your role to make sure that they are well kept, they are clean, they are fed, are they eating the right foods, what are you saying to them? All of that starts with the woman. So that's definitely the role that we have to make sure we're being in at all times. Brothers, what do you have to say?
I would just say some of this, if you get the book Solutions for Dysfunctional Family, he points out about two organisms, and if you put them together, one is going to fight for dominance. If you try to infuse two different cultures into a household, one of them is going to fight for dominance, and one of them is going to suppress the other. So when you are looking for self-worth, that comes from your community. It comes from being a part of a community. What are you to you, and knowing your purpose. And if you don't know that, well, then now, you're going to be thrown off, and you're not going to know even your culture and the history behind your culture. Well, then now you're going to start to be confused of, well, what is right, what is wrong. Well, maybe I'm going to take a little bit over here, and I'm going to take a little bit over here, and then it just doesn't work, and you find yourself kind of out of balance, like an out-of-body experience. So what I would say is the first thing, you might want to just check out that book, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family. It'll definitely help clean up some of the things that you got going on, like the questions that you have in your head. And I would also say that, it's hard. You can't serve two different sons. So when you go out and work, or you go out and do these, and you have a master or you on your job, and then you come home and then you're listening to them, well, then what starts to happen is you start to just talk about everything that's going on in your job. And me personally, I'm not going to speak for these other brothers, I don't want to hear it. Like, unless you want an answer to solve it, like, I'm not interested. And a lot of times that's just like, I don't really want somebody to fix it. I just want to express myself. Well, then now you got to just get some girlfriends for that. So I would just say, though, check out that book, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family.
Okay, thank you.
Give thanks, Sequoia. All right.
So can I just add two quick things to that in terms of the role of the woman part? One of the other functions I think is critically important is that the woman as the first teacher of the children, and that into that role and does not rely on the external environment to be one of or the sole teacher of how that child behaves or learns what is appropriate for behavior. I've been at school. I've been in schools, like elementary schools. I've seen women come and bring their kids in prior to the day or at the beginning of the school year and say things like, I just want to let you know he's going to be a handful because we can't get him to stay at home. But maybe you can. And just seeing how detrimental that is, because when that happens, there's a relinquishing and control and refinement that woman then is giving to someone else. And oftentimes that's going to be another woman, and oftentimes in the education system, that's going to be a white woman that then is going to be in charge of rearing your child, teaching your child what is not just, math, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also behavior. And so one of the things I think is critically important is women step into the responsibility of being the first teacher and the first refiner of the children. The second thing is to truly be supportive of the vision and the plan that the man is laying out for himself, for the family. And that means being supportive to the man, to your husband. That means being supportive of that vision in front of the children. It also means being supportive of that vision outside in the community as well. Because if there's any breakdown in that, man, it's not accomplished. I remember a couple years ago, I quit and I started my own business. And me and my wife talked about it, and one of the things that I really appreciated was that she was 100%, and it's still 100% behind me doing that. And really, we talked about it, and we didn't talk about what would happen if I did that. We talked about how to make it work. And in some ways, that meant that there were things that she had to take on, like, if there was anything around insurance, I had to get on her insurance because I didn't have insurance at that time. But just covering whatever it took to make sure that things would work out. And I always remember her saying, I know that you're going to take care of this. I know that you're going to make sure that everything still happens as it's supposed to. And it was true. And it wasn't easy, but I really appreciated that she brought that energy to our house at that time. And I mean, we had just, we had just had a child, and I said, I'm gonna quit my job and start doing my own thing. And that could be panic. That could cause panic for someone else. But I really appreciated the way that she followed along with that we talked about where I wanted things to go, and that she was truly supportive. And I think that those are two areas where women have to play a specific role, because in both cases they ground the family. And the grounding is a very important thing. That's why in the Oponi 5 we find that the essay part, or ESC, is where we find the work, the Yemusha, the grounding part. And that's the role that we need women to play in the families. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay. Thank you. I see there's another caller, 240.
Greetings. I am enjoying your show so very much this morning. I'm new to listening. I think I've been listening for about a month now, but it's every day, all day at work. So that is a good thing. So the whole lessons for this month was great about the family structure and the and working with the family. I'm a single mother of 2, but my kids, they're grown. My daughter's 25 and my son is 19. So, I think I've done an excellent job with rearing those 2, and that they're learning. And I've also had them tune in to some of the shows, especially my son. So just to piggyback off of some of the things that you guys were talking about, as far as the women, and when the young man said the snapper, I had to bust out laughing because I'm 45, and in my younger days, I was like, well, all I have to do, I'm from the South, so I would say all I have to do is put the yippee dog on him and he'll be mine. So, doing that and learning, I realized that wasn't how to get a man and keep a man. Mm-hmm. It brought along many of males and young males, but I'm learning, and me and my sister talk about this every day when we speak, of how we used to use sex to try to get men and try to keep men, but now we know that we are so much more than just using our bodies. So, and I was listening to the show about the standards and of, the beauty standards of what men are putting out that they like, and how women are looking and attracting these type of males. And it's just funny to me how I heard a lot of males on the show saying that those are not the type of women that they like, but this is the type of women that we are seeing these men gravitate to, if you know what I'm saying. So my question is, how can we get, or how can we attract the type of males that we desire without using our bodies?
So I think
that.
Go ahead, Zach.
Go ahead, Sister Ty. Well,
I was just going to say, the first is definitely you being clear about what you bring to the table, and that your body really has nothing to do with it. It's about knowing, I think similar to what Sister Sequoia was asking about, your self-worth. So once you are very clear on what you can bring to the other person, because it's not about what they give to you, it's about what you bring to them. And you really have to start activating that in your psyche and envisioning how your life will change once you do that. When you attract this person to you, like how does what you're going to offer to him change your whole life? How does it feel? What changes financially? What changes emotionally? You have to activate all those different levels so that it becomes an active ritual within you. And then you'll start to see the environment around you will begin to shift because now your vibration is shifting. But you really have to get clear first on what you bring and how that's going to impact, the world around you, how that's going to impact his life as well. Brother Sad.
Okay. So I don't know what was told to you, but you're going to attract me by how you look, first and foremost. I'm looking at how you look. And just like if I pick up a book or if I get something, I'm looking at the cover, and then if the cover is interesting, then I'll open it up and I'll look to see what else is in there. But if I don't know what the standard or what they told you, but if you come out, you got the bag on your head and you got one of these, the sweats on, I'm walking right by you. I don't even see you. You're invisible to me. But you're going to have to show me something in order for me to get me to stop. Now, at the end of the day, though, what we need to realize is the hippie dog is fun to play with, according to use your terminology. But now, what is it that you're bringing to the table that's going to say, you know what, this person brings some value to my life? And because I'm basically breaking it down, I'm looking at you're either going to be an asset or you're going to be a liability, either or. So, and I'm just looking and I'm going to start asking questions like of a history or, well, what you doing and where you going, okay, and if either you're going to add or you're going to hurt, and now I'm moving on. So before we get to that, there is, I don't know what the standard of beauty is, but you're going to have to, you know how to attract, you tap into that Oshun energy and attract somebody to you. Now, what you do to keep them there, now that's going to be on the qualities that you bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can I contribute?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, it's interesting because I've had a similar conversation with my daughter. I've got an adult daughter, and I've had a similar conversation with her in the last few songs. So I think it goes back to what you were speaking about earlier, Sister Tyre, about being a complete woman with the appropriate training and guidance from older sisters and the female egg bay, and also from your mother. So as a woman, for me, a woman only needs to breathe, and then she will attract men. A woman, seriously, and then a woman then decides which man shall I engage with, which man shall I even have a conversation with. But a man, many men, a single woman will attract many men, and it's up to that woman to decide which man she's going to engage with. And so for me, a woman should be very clear in her mind what it is that she needs and requires from a man, even to the extent of writing a list of those qualities that woman needs from a man. And if a man tries to engage with you or wants to develop a relationship with you, then you know what standards you have set for yourself in terms of what you need from your husband, what you need from your partner. And if the person doesn't meet that standard, then you say move along. But for me, any woman should not have any trouble attracting a man. The issue for me is what standard is the woman going to ensure that she wants to hold that man to before she decides that things are going to move forward. I don't know. I hope that helps. Does that help?
It does help. It does help a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been, at this point in my life, I've done a whole lot of growing and a whole lot of changing. So I have, stopped giving up the yoga box. I have, made my list of standards, but now I'm finding that men don't approach me. And by far am I an unattractive lady, but they don't attract me. And when men do approach me, the first thing they'll say is, why are you single? And I say, well, because I don't get approached. I don't get approached by men. And then the men that I do attract, when I give them my standards, they flee. And I know those are not the type of men that I want. My standards are not high, but I do have standards. So, I don't know. That's what I'm doing with now.
Chief has said before how important it is, especially when we get to this age, how a woman has to actually hunt. So it's not about you waiting for someone to come to you. It's about you actively looking for this partner and being very clear on what it is you want. Do you want someone and you are going to be with every single day, or do you just want someone to supply your needs, whatever those may be? So you have to be very clear on what that is too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Yeah, can I just to add a quick thing too? You know, when Brother Byron was talking about women attracting, women are like magnets. You know, magnetism is the attractive power of women. So you're going to attract men. You know, you're going to attract rusted iron. You're going to attract steel. You're going to attract platinum. You're going to attract whatever the quality of that metal is to you. It's your decision whether or not you want that metal to stick to you, though.
Okay.
So, you know, the attractive power is always yours. Now, there was something that you said in the beginning, which I think really reflected the challenge at the end, which is this notion of what is it that men find attractive. Well, the thing is that what men find attractive is as much a social construct now as how women think they need to look to be attractive. So every time we go, if you watch a music video, it's going to show you what an attractive woman looks like. A movie, it's going to show me what an attractive woman looks like. And so that is then changing in your mind, your tastes. Those are taste shapers. So if I'm watching, you know, music videos all day, I might say, well, yeah, I want a woman with, you know, long hair and, you know, a big booty and everything like that. And she got to be light skinned and have tattoos on one side of her body. And that might be, you know, what I think I want. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. But I know that my tastes have been shaped by the data that I'm constantly downloading. And now the other thing is just like how that message is sending to a man that that's what you want, that's also sending to a woman what she should want. What's happening now for you is that you're changing up the idea of what you want. But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're changing your idea, the whole society around you is going to change with it. So you have to realize that as you become more sharp and focused about what you're looking for and what you really want to attract and what you want to keep, that narrows the playing field. When there was a point in time when I was single where I decided I'm gonna really be down with someone, and there was a three-pronged criteria that I had for the woman that I was looking for. She had to have Brother Charles. She had to have a belief in God. And yes, I know that's a Greek term, but you know where I was at that time, she had to have a belief in God. She had to have a real desire, sincere desire to be a wife and a mother, and she had to have a sincere love and appreciation for Black people. Now, you would think that would keep the playing field pretty open, but I got to tell you, it narrowed it down exponentially. And I think it was the last one. I think the love and Black people part was really what shrunk the field. But I found that, you know, maybe before there might have been 10 or 20 women, and now there was like 6. But the 6 that they were tough. There were 6 really tough people, and that was what I was looking for, you know. And I think like it's good to be circumspect about dating because I have enough friends that are divorced and been through all types of craziness to know that being with the wrong person can wreck your life for decades.
Right.
So you got to be very careful about that. This is a big decision, you know. So if you're in a space now where you're not necessarily attracting the same attention you were when you were, you know, just, you know, as you said, giving up the yippee dog. Is that what you said? Yippee dog? When you was doing the yippee dog and the yogurt box and all that kind of, the yogurt box and all that, that's good because that means that you're attracting maybe a different and a higher level of person. And that's not going to be, it's just not a lot of higher level people. I mean, the whole thing for this month has been alpha men and alpha women. If everybody was alpha men and alpha women, this show wouldn't exist. we'd be in a whole nother place. I just wanted to add that.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Let me ask you one question before you go. When they ask you why you're single, how do you answer that question?
I answer that question by stating I can't answer that question. I don't know why, men are not finding me attractive. I'm not settling for just anything. I'm not settling for the first man to come to me just because I'm single. I really can't answer that question, so maybe that's something that I need to sit on.
Okay. I'd like to say that now that you have raised your standard, you said your standards aren't high, but they see, my assumption is they were higher than what they previously were. Men will pick up the vibration of your standards and not even approach you if they know that your standards are significantly higher than what they can offer you. So by raising your standards, you are filtering and increasing the density of your sieve. So it makes it even harder for those men who are below your vibration or below your standards to even approach you, because they can feel the energy from you, which means that they ain't going to step to you and say, how about a one-night stand or what have you. They're not going to step to you with any of that foolishness, because they can feel the vibration and they will go on to the other sisters that aren't operating at your level of vibration. So don't be down on yourself to say that you're not attracting anybody. Because you've raised your standards, you're filtering out a lot of people that aren't even anywhere near where you're going, sister.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. I can get with that.
All right. Okay. And so when you do attract somebody, believe you me, you will know. And they would, just to even approach you, when the right person approaches you, you will know that. And they would have also made their own observations on you, and not even us to you, but they would have made their own observations of you before they stepped to you, because they would be looking for somebody at a higher vibration, similarly to what you are. So don't be down on yourself at all.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Continue the great work.
Good thing.
Good thing. Okay. Hey, so I got a quick question for everybody on the line again as well. So just real quick. So one of the things that we talked about, or one of the things the Chief talked about this month, was the value added of the alpha man to the community, and the alpha female to the community as well. So my question is, what are we seeing, or what have you all observed are ways that both men and women have weakened the community, or how have the beta males or beta females weakened the community? And I'll just leave it out there and let whoever wants to jump in and provide an answer.
By swapping roles. You have men who don't have any direction, and women who are what I think Chief called the Amazonian woman who runs the show. And that just causes the most confusion in many, many, many families that I've been witness to.
And I think that goes back to even when you read the Willie Lynch, and I know a lot of people say, oh, well, it's wrong time and it's not even right, but just look, is it true? And when you look at it, they beat the man in front of the woman and had the woman leave. Well, now you have the women leave, and now you have water that is leaving, and we see what happens when water has no direction, this water energy. It's almost like now the levee is broke. And you see what happened when the levee broke. Things just complete chaos, turmoil, and everything just starts going downhill. And it's going to finally take somebody to stand up and be that line and say, no, this is the direction that we're going in. Because even if we look at it, even if we study in the old text, and the serpent came to who? It came to Eve. It didn't come to the man.
And all because the man didn't step up and protect the gate and say, look, I know what you're about. I know what you came here to do. You're not going to come over here with this. And you let the woman be beguiled by this. Well, then now all of a sudden everybody else goes downhill, and now you're pointing fingers. I didn't agree to that. Well, you didn't agree to it because you're a simp. You didn't say anything. Stand up and say something, and you start moving in a direction. If we look at it even on a chessboard, the most important piece on the chessboard is the king. If the king is knocked off, the game is over. The woman is the most powerful piece, can move anywhere in any direction that it wants to, but this direction is nothing if it doesn't have the direction of the king. And if the king, and I've heard Chief say this many times, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Even though you may look at, oh, man ain't doing it, the man who's making the decisions, that's a lot of work. You got a lot of people that you got to look after, and a lot of people don't want to step up and take that because that's responsibility. And if you look like, well, if something goes wrong, then I don't want to be held accountable for what I did. So it's easier for me to just stand in the back in the shadows, let her do it, and then when something goes wrong, then I can point the finger at her instead of pointing it at me. Stand up, be a man, grab your own tool and say, this is what we're doing, and then take the heavy load on. And when you don't do it, well, then now things start to get out of balance, out of whack, and you're going, it's anti-nature. You're going against nature. And that's what I got to say about that.
I can tell you're passionate about it, too, man.
That's right. That's right.
You're passionate about that response, too, man.
I mean, you can start to...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brother Brian. Don't let me jump back. Go ahead.
Well, my point is that in the UK, what I observe is that the beta man, who I would say isn't even raising his own homestead or family correctly, has no capacity then. So if I'm looking at, say, if we were living in a village and the village was under attack, they would ask for the men to go to the external border of the village to fight off the enemy. Yes, the men that I observe in the UK, the African men, the majority of the African men in the UK ain't even raising their families appropriately. So when the attack comes, they're not even around. And because they haven't been appropriately trained in how to protect, how to guard their own families, then they cannot be relied on to protect the community. And a key difference for me between an alpha male and a beta male, and I stand corrected, but this is just my thinking, is a beta male doesn't have any significant contribution to make to the community. But an alpha male can actually leave his homestead and do community works because everything is aligned at home. And therefore they can go and make positive contributions to the community because things are aligned at home. A beta male may feel as though they want to contribute things to the community, but what can they contribute when their things aren't home? In Jamaica, we would say, learn to dance at home before you dance abroad. So, you know...
Hold on, that accent got real thick on me, Brother Byron.
Sorry, all right then, let me drop a Jamaican accent. In Jamaica, they would say, learn to dance a yard before you dance abroad. You learn to dance at your home before you dance outside of your home. So if a beta male hasn't even got his home locked down, how then can he go out and support the community? And for me, I see a lot of these beta males going out there trying to, in their right, support the community, but they're just regurgitating their own poison from their own homes onto the masses.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That is I think definitely the part about the capacity and how, you know, if you can't take care of yourself, you have no capacity to offer anything to anyone else. That's a critical part. You know, it reminds me a lot of in the last video that Chief put out, the responses to some of the questions for this month's shows. He was saying to people that, you know, before you sign on to do work for, you know, Anu Global Ministries, you got to complete phase 1, because, you know, how can you minister to others before you've actually ministered to yourself? And I mean, that's a huge point, man. So I think that's a really good one. You know, I think very similarly on my end, I think that one of the things that the beta men have done is made the community itself unstable and unsafe. So, you just see rampant dysfunction in terms of really what you see with the children. So, the girls, they're 12, 13, 14, they're dressed like they're in their 30s, or the boys, they're completely, unkempt. You can see that no one is really looking out for them. So they're constantly operating in a very predatory mode because they don't feel safe, and then you have a lot of older men who are really being predatory as it relates to these younger girls. So, there's just a general sense of imbalance and dysfunction, and it's saddening. I know for me, just driving through different communities here in the D.C. area, I see a lot of brothers, just kind of sitting around all the time. And I hate to see it because it's almost like an acknowledgement that the system won. 9:30 a.m., 11 a.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., you're just sitting in the same place. There's nothing really going on around you, and it's a terrible image for the younger brothers and sisters that are walking by and seeing that, because it's like that becomes a representation of what adulthood looks like. And why would anyone be excited about that? Why would anyone want to be interested in pursuing that as an option or as a goal? So, that is definitely a tough thing. And so, I definitely appreciate, all of your responses on that one.
When you say the system won, what would you say to people who say, you know what, it's just the system is the system, and many people have tried to go against the system, and there's nothing that you can do. So you might as well just make yourself as comfortable as possible in this system and just get what you can.
Well, I would say that, like let's say one of the main principles of Kwanzaa is Kujichagulia, self-determination. That we can do for ourselves, that we can raise ourselves, that we can name ourselves and take care of ourselves. If we the day that we collectively as a people decide that, as a community, they won, you can't stop the system, it's over, that is really the end. And then if that's the case, then there's no point in shows like this. There's no point in the work that each of us do in our families. There's no point in work that Chief does, because we will have cashed in the chips. So we can't accept that the system has won. The only thing that someone wins, only time someone beats you is when you stop fighting. And so I would say that, if we're going to have Kujichagulia as one of these principles, as one of these African principles, which I think we should, and I think is valuable, then self-determination is a key part of that. And that means asking yourself and working towards the best for yourself and the community that you represent.
I have a question, just related back to the family and community and how community starts with family. Does the recent Charlotte riot, would you say that rioting, because I saw mostly males, like black males out, would you say that that's mostly beta men handling or I guess participating in that type of situation?
That's a good question. So let me say this: the first challenge that I have is that what I'm seeing on Charlotte, what I'm seeing that's what I'm being shown is happening in Charlotte, I'm watching that on CNN. Mm-hmm. So the first challenge that I have is that I know that I'm having a particular image given to me on the television, and so I have to think about, am I really being shown the truth of what's happening? Even the idea, I'll give you a prime example. So I watched the first night of it, right? And they said, first of all, they said that a brother was killed, but he wasn't killed by the police. And as you're watching the broadcast, they'll tell you he got killed. Then they told you the person was in critical condition. Well, if you're watching the news and the news told you the person was dead, but then they weren't, but then they were in critical condition, well, how do you know that? How do you know that they weren't killed by the police or they weren't shot by the police?
Right.
And then you're watching a conversation happen where there's a group of people talking about the event and they're labeling the protest as violent. And the basis for them qualifying it as violent was because they were watching property be destroyed. Well, as you know, property being destroyed is evidence of vandalism. That's not violence. So how things are being labeled is important, because if I throw a rock through a window, I vandalized that building. I didn't commit a violent act against a person. So now, when you look on CNN, a big crawl comes across the screen in big red and white letters, violent protests in Charlotte. Well, I don't know if those protests are violent. And I don't know what I'm watching, because I'm only watching what they're showing me. So it's hard for me to say that the behaviors of everyone that's out there is representative of quote-unquote beta or alpha men, because of how I'm seeing the information and the fact that I know the media is going to give me a certain picture of what they want me to see and how they want me to perceive the incident.
And I would just say, I would say it comes down to just being educated on who and what you are, and the difference between being educated and trained. And you need to educate yourself on who and what you are, and then see and study past history and see what they did, your ancestors did, and see if it worked. Then see if you can start to make some different decisions moving forward. Now, how many times have people went out there and started to, I'm going to turn up the system, and I want you, and then it's always not what I'm bringing to the table. It's always, you need to stop doing this to me. Or if you could just take your foot off my neck. And Amos Wilson said this, and he was like, it's almost like comparing that to a woman getting beaten by her husband, saying, well, if I can just get them, or if you want to assimilate, and then if I can just get them to see that I'm bringing something to the table, if I can just get them to see that we are good, if I can, then something will turn good of this, quote unquote. At the end of the day, what are you doing and what are you building towards? And if you're not building towards nothing, then why do you expect somebody to do something for you? And then this is what happens when, and just what you said, the beta males, then the women say, we got to do something. And you get all in your emotions, and you feel like the thing to do is to take to the streets and tear something down. And then you go back home, and then they promise you, well, this is what we'll do. And then we got some stuff done. And then give it another month. And she says it on the beginning of every show. It's a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. You're not getting nothing done. So when do you want to start to, sit down and strategize, mastermind, and then go after what you want? And say, this is what it is, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're about, this is what we're bringing to the table. And if you're not bringing anything to the table, nobody's going to acknowledge that you're even sitting there. You don't even have a place at the table, because all you're showing up with is your fork and a plate. Please put something on my plate and feed me. Well, if I got to keep feeding you, then you're going to be subjective to whatever I say that you do. So what are you building towards? And I think as soon as we get out of this being so reactional and being so emotional, and a lot of times you see a lot of men, that's why they fighting each other, they fighting every emotion, man. Remove your emotions from it and think. Use your head. Logic. Use logic and start to make some decisions. Go ahead, Brother Byron.
Sister Tia, I would say that the majority of alpha men are not going to be anywhere near the streets at this time, protesting to the state about the treatment of African people. So the situation happened in North Carolina, which has had a legacy of killing alpha males, African alpha males anyway. If I was an alpha male, I would, if I was there, if I was an alpha male, I am an alpha male, but if I was there, I would have to go to the family's homes to show, I would have to go to the family home to show my respect. I wouldn't need to go on the street, because now is the time not to be moving emotionally. Now is the time to be thinking coolly and calculatingly about what are we going to do about the situation. By putting my face on the TV screen, or potentially on the TV screen, definitely being recorded by the police if I'm demonstrating on the street, that ain't going to achieve anything. Of course, they've upset the African community, but I feel that now is the time for cool heads and for the alpha males to retreat into the dark, and then to develop their plans and their strategies on how to move forward, rather than giving an immediate emotional response that's being recorded and filmed and beamed all across the world, when the issue that they're complaining about is unfair treatment by the system. The alpha male has already come to the position that the system is unfair, and why would the alpha male have to protest against the system? They're not going to waste energy protesting against the system. They're going to be investing and utilizing their energy to remove themselves from the system so that their families and their communities can be strengthened elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's beta in general. I'm generalizing. It's generally beta males who are out there protesting and recording and making a whole heap of noise. Yeah, I can understand the upset and I can understand the pain, but now is the time to be strategizing and developing plans.
Thank you all for those responses. Is that, I'm here in Charlotte, and it just makes me think, what is the ultimate goal? Like, what are you trying to do by looting these businesses? And it just, there seems to be no plan. So right. I appreciate all those responses.
Mm-hmm. How much would y'all say that music contributes to this, the mentality of manhood and saying, this is what I get my 4 or 5 and do all of this? How much would you say all of that contributes to when you see things like this?
I think music contributes to the significant lack of awareness of African people. Most of our songs talk about rubbish, whether it's dance or reggae or whether it's rap. Most of the lyrics aren't conscious. They don't elevate our thinking or elevate our spirits in any way. And, the songs don't place any value on the family. A lot of the songs don't place any value on women. A lot of the songs and the videos particularly don't place any value on the fact that we are African. Even to the clothing and the hair that we see in these videos. The women have permed hair, people are light-skinned, the men are wearing tight pants or saggy pants. There's no elevation of family or unity within the songs. So I think the music has got a lot to play. The music has got a lot of responsibility for the condition of African people in the States and also in the Caribbean and over here too in the UK. I think the music's got a big. That's a good question. Good question.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I'd agree with everything that Brother Byron said. I think that the music, the television, the movies, it's all programming. It's like, when you look at Francis Cress Welsing's, system of white supremacy, racism, entertainment is one of those key areas, because it's a part of the function of the system. So very similar to what Byron is saying, it's focusing you on things that are inconsequential. It's focusing you on how to have a good time, how to drink as much as possible, how to get this new pair of sneakers. These things that have no real value or relevance to your situation and to your life, and certainly doesn't prepare you to be able to actively go about the process of liberating yourselves and respond to, assaults by the state on you or your people or your family. And so we don't have that in place. And so we really have to, like I know there have been songs that say, you got to turn the radio off. It's true. You got to do it. I mean, I have a daughter. I can't play any of that stuff, nothing that's on the radio. I don't even play the radio anymore in the car because I can't even run the risk of what she might hear or what words she might learn, or just the fact that what's in, is becoming a part of her conscience. So I think the music is a huge problem. And it's also an area that, as a people, we have a very hard time negotiating. Because for many of us, we love the music. It's fun. It's entertaining to us. There's some positive memories that are attached to it. So it's very hard for us to be critical in our analysis of whether or not it's actually a good thing for the people. You might like gin, but gin is not necessarily not good for you to drink. You might like chicken. You might like fried chicken. But fried chicken is not good for you to eat, no matter who made it for you, whether it was your grandmother, wherever the case may be. But we have a very hard time. We have a very hard time being critical about the things that we like that are also detrimental to us as a people.
So how do you go about planting your flag and making your flag look better than the flag when they go out in the streets? As far as, even if you listen to some of this music and then they got all of these dances and all of this stuff that make it look so cool, and then you come home and then we're talking about African principles. How do you go about making your flag look better than the flag that's out in the world?
What you just said is,
go ahead, sis.
And I was just going to make a quick comment that what you just said is part of the solution, because Chief has mentioned this before. Like, everything that you see that happens outside of, quote unquote, the conscious community is so fun and cool to be part of. And when we do like a conscious event, we got like kale and pineapple juice. We're not eating fried chicken and macaroni and cheese, and we're not doing the fun things that everybody else is doing. So that element of fun has to be really deeply just rooted into everything that we are trying to do as a unit.
Well, I would say how I raise my family's flag higher. Well, I wouldn't say I. My family raised my family's flag higher. I don't have to raise it. So just the way in which my wife is with my children, and the example that she sets in the community, and the way that my children interact with other people, raises my family's flag higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a conscious effort. I don't make a conscious effort to raise my family. People tell me that my family elevates me because of the compliments and the comments I get from people about my family and the way that my family behaves, and the values and the way they carry on and the way they interact with other people. So that's something that I actually didn't really consider too hard. I always know that my family are the jewels in my crown. I will always say that my family, my children, my wife are the jewels in my crown. But I don't make a conscious effort to let people know much about me. I will share I will share with my friends, yes. But I leave for people to inquire. Hey, Byron, what's going on with you, man? I've noticed this about you. I've noticed this about your family. How come? And then we can start to build and have a conversation where we can start exploring more spiritual matters. But it's not. So that's what I would say. That's what I'd say about that, for sure. But with regard to enjoying myself, I can go to the reggae dancers with the rest of them. I will go out there and enjoy myself. Yeah. I will dance decently, and I will not drink to excess. And I will enjoy myself, and I will go home, but I will enjoy myself within a boundary of civility, where I'm not going to bring embarrassment to myself, my family, or my community. And I will go to places where I understand that the standard of behavior is probably more elevated than other places. So I'm not going to go to a bashment dance where it's just going to be pure disrespect coming over the microphone or out of the sound system. I'm going to go to a more cultured environment for African people in the UK, and I'll go and have a good time. So I take pains not to divorce myself from my community, because I don't want to be perceived as odd when I'm amongst my peers. I want to be able to talk with them and relate to them as normal, but also keep my own principles and values within that context.
So would you say a big part of that would be then is just showing how you raise your flag? Is this how you and your wife complement each other?
I think so, yeah. Yes, because we work as a team. My problem is her problem is my problem. And we do a lot of activities as a family because we've tried to design our lifestyle to enable us to do that. And that's been hard. It's not been easy. For years I was working away from home. It's not been hard. It's not been easy. Both my wife and I place the highest value on the family, more so than anything external to it. Then we've been able to make those changes with the support of Chief Yuya. I'm not going to say it's all us, with the support of Chief Huey, we've been able to make those changes where all of our energies are now aligned more into developing the home than doing work out there for other people. And if we do go out there into the community, then it's for things that we are really passionate about, or for things that we know are going to impact positively on the community. Or, well, you know, that's our intentions, to impact positively on the community.
Okay. I can dig that.
Right.
Well, we're coming to the close of the show. So, again, we'd like to thank everybody who called in. Did anybody have any last remarks as we get out and close this Sunday out?
I'll just say that I just really appreciate the energy on the phone. All the people that called in, that asked questions, shared comments and perspectives, really appreciated that. You know, this is our space. You know, so our space it grows and becomes, you know, stronger with the positive contributions from obviously those of us that are on here all the time, and then also, you know, from the listening community as well. So really appreciate that, and hopefully, you know, we see more of that, because I think the flow is so much more and so much better when, you know, people are really contributing actively. So, you know, I hope that this is what we see continuing and moving forward.
Appreciate it. I would like to thank everybody for being very supportive to my losing my virginity on this particular show, in this particular element. The apprehension that I had before the event, all built up within my own self. So if there are any other students that are apprehensive about contributing to this panel, to this forum, I would say try to allay them, because I would say that Sister Taya, Brother Charles, have been very encouraging and welcoming and inclusive. So I'd like to say thank you to all of you for that.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I mean, just with your accent, you're raising a whole level of class to this whole call, man. So I mean, you can call it any time, man. It makes us all sound smarter, man. I love it.
I don't know about that, but yeah, it's been really nice. It's been really good. Thank you.
Well, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and until next time, we are out.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Whatever.
Yeah, that.